Hey Dad, it's Saturday morning. Tomorrow's Father's Day. I figured I would make you another video to let you know how things are going here at the fish and pug rescue or whatever. We seem to definitely like some fishes. That over there is along the side. There's my little garden. I had a major outbreak of that clovery stuff, so I kind of ripped that out and put some stuff in pots. Some of my plants didn't quite make it, but here is the little water garden. There should be a bunch of water lilies in here later on in the day, and that actually over there, the one sticking up with the light green ones, that's actually a lotus. Those I've not had very good luck growing here because they don't make it through the winter so much, but there's one that did. So that one's in its second year, and it should hopefully get some flowers on it. And there's a bunch of this water hyacinth in here, and you wouldn't know it, but there's about a bazillion little tiny bluefin killifish in there. They're native to Florida. They're really pretty cool looking. I'll see if I can't throw some footage in there. And there's my dwarf nectarine and my avocado over there that I started around my birthday. So I'm hoping those do pretty well. And here's the koi pond. Notice that there's some boards there missing. This thing's been set up for a few years, and the boards around the outside are looking kind of haggard. So I've been pulling a few off at a time and restaining them and just kind of working my way around. That should look pretty nice here in a bit. And we got some totes back there, and we got some totes over here. We'll go take a look at those. Here is aquaponics tote number one. The water gets pumped down here from this lower section 24/7, and it gets pumped up to here, and I don't know if you can see the dark line right there. That's the water level raising up in here, and as soon as it gets towards the top, it'll dump out. It just, once it fills up, it starts a siphon, and a bell siphon, and they'll just drain it till it's empty. And we got some strawberries and some Anaheim chilies down there. So those are doing okay. The strawberries are they were doing good earlier in the year. It's kind of a bit hot for them. Here we have tomatoes in tote number two. Those seem to be doing pretty good. Tote number one is hosting some goldfish. Those were some ones that friends didn't have room for anymore. Yep, and then there's a black koi in there too. We got breeding last year. And these guys you'll probably dig. In here we have a few tilapia and some long-eared sunfish. Now these guys are really pretty. I'll try and slap in some footage here shortly of those from inside the tank. We'll give them a little bit of food right now. They are not shy. These guys are really pretty cool looking. I like these guys. Got a bit of breeding, not a ton. Now we have two over here. This one has Ellisoma evergladii. These are from North Carolina, and they got the little bubble window there for looking in there, but it's in the shade, so it doesn't really do you much good. I can look through there and probably look gigantic to the fish and freak them out. And this one over here has little tiny shrimp in it. Let's see if we can see some of these guys. And up there goes one right there. These guys full size are about 1 inch long. Let's see. There's a few right there. It's kind of bright blue. Oh, there's a whole mess of them right here. Let's see. Yeah, there are a whole mess of those guys. I'll pull this thing up and see. You can probably see quite a few in here if they haven't eaten all the food out. Oh yeah, no shortage of blue shrimp. These are like Neocardina. These are from China, and I think they're clear in the wild, but you know, they've selectively bred them, kind of like making pugs or something, and pick for a color. Oh, and there is some butter crunch lettuce that is in the settling tank for my koi pond. The water gets pumped out of here, and this, it just kind of settles and lets particulates flow out of here, or settle out. Then it gets pumped through this pump that's in the doghouse there, a nice cheap waterproof cover, and then this gigantic filter over here. It gets pumped up through there, and then gravity feeds back. And so, yeah, actually, you can see there's a little bit of, there's a little swamp cooler thing, and so we have a little fresh water dripping in here 24/7, and that feeds, overflows into here, and then overflows into that settling tank. So in addition to keeping up with evaporation, it makes sure that, like for those shrimp, that they always have nice clean water. It seems to pay off a bit. There's the little cooling fans. Once the sun gets going, those things kick into overdrive, and you know, these tanks I don't have to top off because they have the autofill. But on the other ones, that additional evaporation is a bit problematic to keep up with. You know, I have to top them off every few days. Actually, we'll see that over there on the other side because I need to do that. But it certainly helps with the sweltering heat around here. And it's kind of early in the morning, and so I don't think there's anything to see in here. This thing was completely overgrown with plants. I had to pull a bunch out, but I'll stick some B-roll footage of there from inside the tank so you can see those guys. Ooh, I see a little baby. There's a bunch of babies in here. Here's the koi pond. That yellow one I've had since it was a little tiny baby. It's about 8 years old. The water's kind of murky a little bit, which happens. This guy right here in the center of the shot with the orange spot on his head, that guy's 22 years old. Big old yellow fish there. And right sneaking up there beside him underneath him there, the gray one, that's one we got last year. That's a really pretty neat fish. I kind of had to let him grow out a little bit before I put him in here because this catfish that's in here I figured would suck him up. And we might see the catfish. Let's see where he is. Right, he was just there. There he is. I'll have to maybe, I'll probably edit in some like little better shots of some of this stuff. I'll cut this thing all up, and so I'll probably be switching. There's the catfish down there. I got that guy about 3 years ago, maybe longer, 4 years ago. He's got to be pushing 2 feet right now. But I got him, he was about 1 inch long. And that's just a channel cat, but it's an albino one. So yeah, I have an all black koi in here, and you can't see him at all. He's still. But yeah, they're all doing pretty good. And then I threw this little bird bath out here in the center. It's normally it just kind of trickles out of there. And I was hoping to get some birds to come in here, and except for the Enoyatron, the cat. That thing is about the size of a puma, and so I was trying to give them a place where they can come in here. This one has some bantam sunfish, so I'm not too sure what the specifics are for these guys, but yeah, I just have some water lilies in here, and really about the only filtration I have is I have some sponge filters that just kind of use a little air bubbler to make a current. Let's see if I can get in here. Maybe over here this will work. And there's lots of babies in here. So I had these guys in a smaller tank, and I moved them into here in the spring, so they have this 1,000-liter tank all to themselves. And they certainly are not shy. These little guys will come up and eat right out of your hand. And, you know, kind of like any of these little bluegills or something, they do this thing where they grab something and run away. And I'd love to show you, I think I have a picture of some fry. These guys, their little babies are so small that there's probably a bazillion of them in here, but I don't know where they're at. Hard to see unless you're really looking for them. Here is the row of totes for Ellisoma gilberti. I have 4 totes kind of set up like this, kind of like the other ones. There's those sponge filters there that just, the airlift brings water up that tube, and it gets sucked through these sponges down here underneath, so that provides some biological filtration. Also, like the little baby fish kind of cruising along the surface of that sponge and eat fish, or eat little tiny things. Up here is some rainbow shiners. These guys are pretty cool looking. When the light hits them just right, they're really quite striking. Yeah, and all of these are Ellisoma gilberti, so these are about the same. Let's see. So, once again, they all have sponge filters. They're underneath this shade cloth so they don't get baked too bad. And then they have these computer fans that are, all these are hooked up to a solar panel, so when the sun comes out, those will start whizzing along. And, you know, between topping them off and then being in the shade, it's probably going to be about 112 today, maybe. It's supposed to be pretty hot. It's the summer starting to take effect, so they should be okay. I can see a few, but I'm not getting them on the camera. So there's 4 of these things, and these guys are pretty prolific breeders. So actually, let's see, we got these little windows here on the side, on the side of these totes, so you can kind of look in there. And they're certainly not much for looking at, but the fish seem to like it. And these little brushes that I have all over the place, these filter brushes, they really are kind of just, you see it's just covered with this algae, which is good because there's all kinds of little tiny, you know, microscopic critters that are growing in there, and that gives the little fish something to eat on. It's kind of like a little artificial reef, and gives them, breaks up the line of sight in there so the fish aren't quite so territorial. Those brushes down there are kind of a recent add-in, so they're not quite colonized with muck yet. That certainly oh, there's one hanging out right down there. The lighting this time of day isn't too great. I'm getting lots of glare, but yeah, like I said, I'll put in some other footage. Okay, here's some shots, some footage from inside the Gilberti tank. These are I have 4 of these tanks. This is just one of them. I was doing some feeding of grindle worms, these little tiny worms, and they sure just come out when you do that. You can see the coloration, the bright blue coloration on these males. Really pretty stunning. And these are cool little fish. They're kind of aggressive little guys, very territorial. They're all preoccupied with eating. The rest of the time they're being grumpy towards each other and trying to fight for females. But yeah, these are really neat fish. I like these guys a lot. Hence why I have so many. That's pretty much it for the fish that I have. And then I could show you the other totes, but they're similar to this, you know, the same fish. I have some rainbow darters that are on the back porch, and I'll switch over to those here in a second. They're kind of an interesting fish in that they lack a swim bladder, so they can't really float around like most normal fish. They stay at the bottom, and when they swim up the water column, if they stop flapping their fins, they sink again. So these guys will struggle to come up to the top and grab a little bit of food. I like these guys a lot though, because they're, you know, they are very food aware, and they come around when you're there. If you cup some food in your hand and stick it in there, they'll swim up and sit in your hand and eat. Well, sir, I hope that you have a wonderful Father's Day and everybody's safe. I love you.